So imagine you're looking at a national weather radar, right? There are just, well, zero hurricanes,
Yeah, totally clear.
zero tornadoes. The severe thunderstorm risk is, I mean, it's virtually non-existent. From coast to coast, it looks like a perfectly calm, just brilliantly clear spring day.
It really does.
And if you are planning a picnic, it is an absolute dream scenario. But if you are a corporate energy manager running a nationwide chain of restaurants, that exact same clear sky is actually a multi-million-dollar crisis just waiting to happen.
It completely inverts how we normally think about danger. We are so conditioned to fear the storms, the dark clouds, the dramatic weather events that actually make the evening news.
Right, the stuff you can see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a totally quiet radar can be the most destructive economic force of all simply because it is, well, it's invisible to the casual observer.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today is entirely for you, the listener who loves to look past the obvious and really see the hidden gears turning our everyday lives.
We got a great one today.
We really do. We have a highly specific, totally fascinating behind-the-scenes source today. It is the GWT2Energy Weather Impact Newsletter, and this was issued for the week of March 23, 2026.
And just for a bit of context here, this isn't the kind of forecast you see on a morning show. GWT2 Energy is a B2B advisory firm.
Business to business.
Right, meaning they don't talk to consumers at all. They consult directly with businesses. So their audience consists of operational directors and corporate energy managers who need to know exactly how the atmosphere is going to impact their bottom line.
Our mission today is to explore how this niche, highly technical advisory reveals the massive impacts of unseasonal weather on our built environment and our economy. Okay, let's unpack this. And we're starting with the glaring absence of severe weather I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, looking at the negative space of a weather report often reveals the true story. The first section of this newsletter focuses entirely on severe weather and storms. And for this late March period, the map is essentially a ghost town.
The numbers are just incredibly stark. I mean, the report explicitly states there are zero active or forecasted hurricanes or tropical systems for the continental U.S. in the next 21 days.
Which is nice, but yeah.
The likelihood of any tropical impact is pinned at less than 1%, and it doesn't stop there. Tornado and severe thunderstorm risks are practically non-existent for the current 7-day outlook.
They assign less than a 5% chance of severe thunderstorms nationally.
Right. The only blip on the entire radar is a tiny 5 to 10% chance of isolated wind in a highly specific southeast corridor, basically eastern Georgia up to the Virginia and North Carolina line.
That's it.
Yeah. Beyond that, the 14-day and the 21-day outlooks show less than a 10% regional likelihood for any notable severe weather outbreaks. The report officially labels the restaurant impact from storms as negligible.
Negligible.
So I have to push back here for a second. Because as a business owner, reading a forecast with zero violent weather sounds like an operational blessing. Why are we treating this quiet, calm radar like it's a looming threat?
Well, it is a very natural reaction to see clear skies and feel a sense of safety.
Yep.
But we have to look at the atmosphere as an intricate system of balances.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is that in a typical spring, severe storms, those violent fronts moving across the plains, the thunderstorms breaking the humidity, they actually serve a vital mechanical purpose. They create atmospheric mixing.
Mixing.
Yeah, the heat is being displaced, churned up, and moved across the continent.
Oh, I see. It's kind of like stirring a thick pot of soup on the stove so the bottom doesn't burn.
Precisely. The storms are the spoon stirring the pot. But when the severe weather radar is completely quiet, when you have that negligible 5% chance of thunderstorms across the entire nation, the spoon has been removed.
Wow.
Yeah, the atmosphere becomes entirely stagnant. The heat at the bottom of the pot is just sitting there, intensifying.
So it just builds up.
Right. That absence of severe storm fronts isn't a relief. It is clearing the stage and allowing a massive, deeply entrenched atmospheric event to take hold.
Which brings us to the real culprit identified in the GWT2Energy report. A historic March heat dome gripping the west and expanding rapidly east.
The physics of a heat dome are fascinating and honestly brutal. Because the atmosphere is stagnant, a massive ridge of high pressure parks itself over a region. It acts like a giant invisible lid.
Like a lid on a pot.
Exactly. The air inside that dome sinks, and as it sinks, it compresses. Compressing air causes it to heat up even further, creating a self-sustaining feedback loop of extreme temperatures.
And the newsletter defines extreme temperatures very specifically for these energy managers. They aren't talking about a bluntly warm afternoon. They define an extreme as highs over 95 degrees Fahrenheit, lows under 40 degrees, or temperature departures of 15 degrees or more from seasonal March averages.
And we should highlight a critical detail from the report here. There are zero cold extremes signaled anywhere.
None at all.
No region is dipping below that 40-degree threshold or seeing temperatures 15 degrees below average.
The entire map is painted red. For the 7-day outlook, spanning March 23rd to the 29th, the report projects a staggering 75 to 90% likelihood of hot extremes.
That's massive.
It really is. We are talking about highs of 95 to 105 degrees and temperatures that are 20 to 30 degrees above the average for this time of year.
It's hard to even wrap your head around those numbers for March.
Let's put some specific cities to these numbers so you can really picture it. Phoenix and other Southwest metros are seeing continued 100 to 105 degree peaks. The report notes they have already shattered their all-time March records.
Yeah, with some sites in that area hitting 108 to 112 degrees just the previous week.
Las Vegas, Palm Springs, and even the Denver area are experiencing 85 to 95 plus degree heat, breaking widespread daily records.
I mean, seeing the Denver area hit 85 to 95 degrees in March is a phenomenal anomaly.
Yeah.
That is a city accustomed to late-season snowstorms at this time of year, not blistering summer heat.
Hitting 112 degrees in Phoenix in March is like hitting the climax of an action movie during the opening credits.
That's a great way to put it.
It throws the entire rhythm of the narrative totally out of whack. You're sitting there with your popcorn, the movie just started, and suddenly the villain is defeated and the city is blowing up. It just doesn't make sense. The calendar says it's early spring, but the thermometer is screaming that it is mid-July.
And that disjointed timeline is exactly what creates the hidden crisis for these businesses.
Because if you're a regular person living in Denver and it hits 85 degrees in March, you're probably thrilled. You think, great, patio season is here early. I'm going to go sit outside with a cold drink.
Oh, absolutely. The report specifically mentions that this historic warmth is boosting outdoor dining nationwide. From a purely front-of-house perspective, the restaurants look incredibly healthy.
Everyone's happy.
Right. The patios are packed, the atmosphere is lively, and revenue for that specific day is likely up.
But if you're sitting on a patio right now, enjoying an unseasonably warm March afternoon, you probably aren't thinking about the literal meltdown happening on the roof above you. We move from the weather data to the business data, and we uncover the hidden cost of this early patio season, the HVAC crisis.
Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. It is the invisible lung of every commercial building, and right now, those lungs are failing.
While the heat is bringing in customers, it is creating sudden, brutally heavy cooling loads. The air conditioning units are being pushed to their absolute maximum capacity months before they usually are.
Which is a huge problem.
Yeah, the GWT2Energy newsletter drops a massive statistic here. These HVAC systems are suffering a severe drop in cooling efficiency. The data shows a 25 to 40% drop in efficiency because the systems are what the report calls unseasoned.
And for an energy manager reading this newsletter, a 40% efficiency drop is a terrifying metric. It fundamentally breaks their operational budget.
The report links this directly to a 60 to 80% risk of massive energy spikes in the affected Southwest zones. Now, I have to ask about the mechanics here, because the phrase unseasoned systems jumped right off the page for me.
It's a very specific industry term, yeah.
Right, because from a layman's perspective, an air conditioner's only job is to blow cold air. Why does a machine care whether it is March or July?
Well, it comes down to the underlying mechanics of commercial cooling. A commercial HVAC unit isn't a magical box that produces winter on demand.
Right.
It is a highly complex mechanical system of compressors, evaporator coils, refrigerants, and carefully calibrated airflow dynamics. When the report describes a system as unseasoned, it means that machine has effectively been in hibernation. It has been operating at a very low intermittent capacity throughout the entire winter.
So it's essentially been asleep for 5 months.
Yes, exactly. And waking it up requires preparation. The coils have likely accumulated dust, pollen, and debris over the winter months. The filters haven't been swapped out to handle high-volume summer airflow. The lubricants inside the heavy compressors are cold, and they haven't been circulated under high thermal stress.
It's like a runner trying to sprint a full marathon without stretching, hydrating, or doing a single warm-up jog. You might make it a few miles, but your muscles are going to cramp, and eventually you're going to just collapse.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. In a normal meteorological year, spring provides that gradual warm-up jog. You get a few days of 75 degrees, the system kicks on, runs for an hour, and cycles off.
Easing into it.
Right. The maintenance crews have time to come out, change the heavy filters, check the chemical refrigerant levels, and slowly ease the machine into its summer capacity.
But because the movie climax happened in the opening credits, these unseasoned machines are going from 0 to 100% capacity literally overnight.
And the ambient air on the tar roof of a restaurant in Phoenix, when it's 112 degrees outside, is easily 130 or 140 degrees.
Oh, wow, that's brutal.
Yeah. So the system is trying to extract heat from a kitchen full of ovens and diners and dump that heat into air that is already boiling hot. The mechanical strain is immense.
Let's pause and think about what a 40% efficiency drop actually means for a restaurant's survival. If your system is 40% less efficient, it has to run nearly twice as long just to lower the dining room temperature by a single degree.
The electrical meters are just spinning off the wall.
Exactly. And the restaurant industry is notoriously tight on cash. A successful restaurant might only operate on a 3 to 5% profit margin.
Very thin margin.
So if your massive commercial cooling bill suddenly doubles in a single month because the system is inefficient, that doesn't just sting. It can literally wipe out the entire profit for the quarter.
The margins simply vanish. And that financial reality explains why the GWT2Energy recommendations in this newsletter are so incredibly urgent. They aren't casually suggesting that managers, keep an eye on the temperature.
Right, it's not a friendly tip.
No, they are directing corporate operators to execute urgent AC system checks and immediate filter changes in Phoenix, Las Vegas, and across the Southwest. A $20 commercial air filter might be the only thing standing between that business and a catastrophic $50,000 equipment failure.
They also strongly recommend using this warm stretch to schedule proactive maintenance before the actual summer peaks hit, which tells us that this isn't just a freak weekend we can ride out and forget about.
The data dictates that this is a sustained operational shift. The atmospheric lid is securely in place.
The coming weeks prove that out. Instead of just rattling off numbers, let's look at the story the 14-day and 21-day outlooks are telling these businesses. For the 14-day outlook covering March 30th to April 5th, the newsletter projects a 60 to 75% likelihood of a sustained warm pattern across the entire continental U.S.
And digging deeper into the Southwest and plains, there is a 50 to 70% chance that temperatures will remain 15 degrees or more above average.
So the pressure on those unseasoned systems is not letting up at all.
Not at all. The machines will not get a break to cool down.
And pushing even further out into the 21-day outlook from April 6th to the 19th, the forecast still holds a 55 to 70% likelihood of continued warm anomalies. This heat remains strongest from the west all the way to the Gulf Coast, and there's still a 45 to 65% chance of those massive 15-degree-plus departures persisting in the southwest.
Wow.
Yeah, they aren't just looking at a warm week. They are looking at a near 70% certainty that a massive chunk of the country will stay baking hot for almost a full month.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you start to see how entirely dependent our modern economy is on predictive forecasting.
It really is.
These corporate directors aren't just looking out the window and reacting to the weather today. They're being forced to shift their entire financial forecasting and supply chain logistics based on what might happen 3 weeks from now.
I mean, how does a massive restaurant chain completely rewrite its operational budget for the second quarter based on a 70% probability?
They do it by making incredibly expensive decisions in the present. They are approving overtime for emergency repair crews, completely overhauling maintenance schedules, and paying premium rush rates for HVAC parts.
Wow.
All weeks in advance, just to ensure they can survive the ambient temperature of the coming month.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. GWT2Energy isn't just sending out this apocalyptic newsletter out of the goodness of their hearts. As we established, they are a B2B advisory firm.
Right.
And right at the bottom of these dire warnings and urgent statistics, they specifically offer targeted HVAC optimization and energy audits for these exact heat-stressed markets.
It is a brilliant strategy. They're providing a terrifying diagnosis and in the very next breath, offering the cure.
They have essentially turned a meteorological warning into a pitch for their own services. They are telling these restaurant chains the sky is literally throwing fire at your roofs, your mechanical systems are completely unseasoned, and your energy bills are about to spike by 80%. But don't panic. Contact us to conduct a comprehensive energy audit.
It is a highly effective business model because the service they are providing is genuinely vital. They are taking raw meteorological data and translating it into financial risk data.
Makes total sense.
A restaurant operator might ignore a weather report about a high-pressure ridge, but they will immediately take action when you tell them their cooling costs are about to double.
So, what does this all mean? We started this deep dive looking at a beautifully clear, storm-free radar, zero hurricanes, a negligible chance of severe thunderstorms. To the average person, it looked like a perfect, peaceful spring.
A patio day.
Exactly. But peering behind the curtain, we discovered that this quiet radar was actually the recipe for an invisible infrastructure crisis.
A stagnant atmosphere that removed the mixing effect of storms, allowing a historic heat dome to bake the country.
A heat dome that is forcing restaurants to battle 112-degree heat in March, pushing unseasoned, hibernating mechanical systems to the breaking point, and threatening businesses with a 40% drop in cooling efficiency that could wipe out their entire profit margin. It completely reshapes how you experience a sunny day.
It really does.
But, the wildest part of this whole report for me wasn't the heat data or the HVAC mechanics or even the 21-day outlooks. It was a single sentence buried at the very bottom of the document in the legal compliance disclaimer.
Oh, disclaimers often hide the most profound truths about how these industries operate. What did it say?
It starts normally enough, noting that the entire advisory, all these stark warnings, the 70% probabilities, the urgent recommendations, they're based on probabilistic data from public sources. They cite agencies like NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, as well as the Storm Prediction Center and the Climate Prediction Center.
Which is standard practice. I mean, they are pulling from the premier governmental atmospheric data agencies.
But then, the disclaimer states, quite plainly, forecasts and probabilities are probabilistic and can change rapidly. Actual weather may differ.
Actual weather may differ.
Actual weather may differ.
It sounds like a simple legal shield, but it raises a profound operational question. Our modern economy, our restaurant chains, our energy grids, our supply chains, they are entirely reliant on these highly specific predictive models. But at the end of the day, they are just models based on percentages.
Right. If a massive corporation completely rewires its operations, pays hundreds of thousands of dollars for emergency HVAC audits, and shifts its entire quarterly budget based on an 80% probability of an energy spike, how do they financially survive the 20% chance that the forecast is completely wrong?
It exposes a fascinating vulnerability. We look at our cities and our corporate infrastructures as these rigid, concrete, permanent things. We assume they are built on solid ground.
Yeah.
But when you read between the lines of a report like this, you realize how much of our built environment is really just gambling on the math of the sky.
Gambling on the math of the sky, it's like sitting at a blackjack table where the rules of the game and the cards in the deck are constantly shifting based on barometric pressure.
Exactly.
You look up at the clouds and you realize millions of dollars and the survival of thousands of businesses are riding on whether that invisible ridge of high pressure moves slightly to the left or slightly to the right. It really makes you look at that simple weather app on your phone with a lot more respect.
It certainly does.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking for the hidden stories behind the everyday data. And the next time you are enjoying an unseasonably warm afternoon on a restaurant patio, maybe pour one out for the air conditioner fighting for its life on the roof.